The foundation of a lie. The smell of garlic and rosemary hung in the air, a familiar, comforting blanket. I was searing a steak, a rare ribeye for Ella, because it was Tuesday and she'd had a hard day. The kitchen was our sanctuary, all warm oak and stainless steel, a place where we'd shared countless bottles of wine and dreams for the future. "Smells amazing, Alex," Ella said, wrapping her arms around my waist from behind, her cheek pressed against my back. I could feel the smile in her touch. "Anything for my wife?" I said, flipping the steak. "How was the meeting with the new clients?" "Brutal, but we got the account." Her voice was tired but proud. This was our life, a partnership. We built our marketing firm from the ground up, fueled by late nights and mutual belief. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, cutting through the sizzle of the pan. "Expecting anyone?" I asked. "No. Maybe it's Mom. She said she might drop by some leftovers." I turned down the heat and went to the door. It wasn't her mother, it was her sister, Chloe, and she wasn't alone. Ella's parents, Richard and Maureen, stood behind her, their faces carved from stone. Behind them were Ella's two brothers, Mark and Ben, their usual joviality replaced by a grim, tense energy. "Chloe, what's going on?" Ella asked, coming up beside me, wiping her hands on a towel. Chloe's eyes were red-rimmed, swimming in a well of manufactured tears. She wrung her hands, a picture of perfect anguish. I didn't know where else to go." "Come in, sweetheart. Come in," Maureen said, sweeping past me and pulling Chloe into the living room. The rest of the family followed, a silent, grim procession. They settled on our sofa, an island of accusation in the middle of our happy home. I stood by the fireplace, feeling like a defendant awaiting a verdict I didn't know was coming. Ella hovered between us, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Chloe, please, what is it?" Ella asked, her voice soft with concern. Chloe took a shuddering breath. She wouldn't look at me. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. Ella's face softened. "Oh, honey, is that a good thing? What did Jason say?" Jason was Chloe's on-again, off-again boyfriend, a musician with the reliability of a weather vane. Chloe shook her head, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "It's not Jason's." The room went silent, save for the faint hiss of the forgotten steak in the kitchen. The air grew thick, heavy with a dread I didn't yet understand. "Whose is it, then?" Ella asked, her voice barely a breath. Chloe finally lifted her head. Her eyes, glistening with false shame, locked onto mine. She pointed a trembling finger directly at me. "It's his," she said, her voice breaking with practiced agony. "It's Alex's." The world didn't just stop, it shattered. It exploded into a million jagged pieces that embedded themselves in my skin, my lungs, my heart. I couldn't breathe, I could only stare, my mouth agape at the sheer, audacious horror of the lie. "What?" The word was a choked gasp, torn from a place of pure, unadulterated disbelief. Ella turned to me. Her face, the face I loved more than my own life, underwent a terrifying transformation. The confusion melted away, replaced by a dawning horror and then a rage so absolute it turned her features into a mask I didn't recognize. "You!" she breathed. "Ella, no!" I finally found my voice. It was raw, desperate. "That's insane. I would never—" "I love you, Chloe. Why would you say that? It's a lie. It's a disgusting, vicious lie." Richard stood up, his face purple with fury. "How dare you! You violate our family, you betray my daughter, and you call my child a liar? Dad, please, just let me talk to her. Chloe, look at me. When? Where? This is impossible." "The 4th of July party," Chloe sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "At Mom and Dad's. You were both drunk. You followed me into the guest room." The detail was diabolical. We had been drinking. The room had been used. It was a framework of truth built to support a monstrous fiction. "I was with you all night," I pleaded with Ella. "We left together. You know this." But she wasn't hearing me. The lie was a seed that had found fertile soil in some hidden insecurity I never knew existed. It had instantly taken root, its poisonous vines strangling all reason, all history, all love. "You bastard," she whispered. Then her hand flew out, a white-hot crack of pain across my cheek. The slap echoed in the silent room. It wasn't just the physical sting, it was the absolute finality of it. In that moment, she was not my wife. She was my judge, jury, and executioner. "Get him," Mark growled. The brothers were on me before I could react. Fists, hard and angry, connected with my ribs, my stomach, my face. I crumpled to the floor, trying to protect my head, the Persian rug scratching my cheek. I heard Ella crying, but she wasn't crying for me. She was crying for herself. Through a haze of pain, I heard Richard's voice, cold and precise. "Get your things, Alex. You will be hearing from our lawyer. We will take everything from you. You will not have a penny or a reputation left when we are through." They dragged me to the door and threw me out onto the front steps. The night air was cool against my bleeding lip. The door slammed shut. I heard the deadbolt turn, a final, definitive sound. I lay there on the cold concrete, broken, bleeding, and utterly alone. The life I had built, the love I had cherished, had been destroyed in 15 minutes by a single, expertly delivered lie. And they never, not for a single second, gave me a chance to defend myself. The next 72 hours were a blur of numb shock and searing pain. I stayed in a cheap motel off the highway, the kind with thin walls and the constant smell of bleach and despair. Every breath was a knife in my bruised ribs, a physical echo of the betrayal. My phone blew up. First, frantic texts from Ella. "How could you? I hate you. Answer me, you coward." Then the threats began. Texts from her brothers, voicemails from her father, laced with profanity and promises of financial ruin. By the second day, the social media posts started. Vague, weeping updates from Chloe about betrayal by someone she trusted. Supportive comments from her family and friends flooded in. "We're with you, Chloe. So brave. He'll get what's coming to him." I was being tried and convicted in the court of public opinion, and I hadn't even been allowed to speak. On the third day, a formal email arrived from the law firm representing Ella. It was a notice of divorce proceedings, citing adultery. It included a freezing order on our joint accounts and a demand that I relinquish control of our company, citing gross misconduct. That was the moment the numbness burned away, replaced by a cold, clear fury. They weren't just casting me out. They were systematically dismantling me, brick by brick, erasing me from the narrative of my own life. I looked at my reflection in the motel's speckled mirror. A bruised, hollow-eyed stranger stared back, but in his eyes, a spark ignited. No, they had taken my wife, my home, my reputation, but they had not taken my mind. They had not taken my will. I opened my laptop, my hands steady for the first time since the accusation. I found the number for the best defamation lawyer in the state, a pit bull named Miriam Goldstein. I called her. "Miss Goldstein," I said, my voice raspy but firm. "My name is Alexander Croft. My life has been destroyed by a lie. I need to sue the hell out of several people. Are you interested?" There was a pause on the other end. "Start from the beginning," she said, her voice crisp and attentive. I told her everything. The accusation, the assault, the threats, the online smear campaign. I laid out the timeline of the 4th of July party. I gave her everything. "Okay, Mr. Croft," she said when I was finished. "Here's what we do. We press charges for assault against the brothers. We file a lawsuit for defamation against the sister and the parents. And we formally petition the court for a paternity test, immediately. We don't ask for it. We demand it. A plan, a path through the hellfire." "And the divorce?" I asked. "We contest everything. We play their game, but we play it with the truth. And the truth, Mr. Croft, is a bomb. We are just going to wait for the right moment to detonate it." I spent the next week as a ghost. I withdrew what little cash I could from a personal account they'd missed. I rented a sparse, furnished apartment under a corporate shell Miriam helped me set up. I bought new clothes, a new phone, a new laptop. I severed all digital ties. Alexander Croft, the beloved husband, the successful business partner, the brother-in-law, had to vanish. He was a character they had killed. I was someone new, someone harder, someone who would not beg for a hearing, someone who would force them to listen. The letter from Miriam Goldstein's office arrived at Ella's parents' house, sent by certified mail. It outlined the lawsuits: defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and a formal notice of the petition for a court-ordered paternity test for Chloe's unborn child. The response was swift and predictable. Ella called my old number, which now went straight to a voicemail that was no longer mine. Her messages evolved from rage to confusion to a desperate, pleading fear. "Alex, please, this is getting out of hand. Can we just talk? My parents are talking about losing the house. You can't do this. Alex, please, I'm sorry about the slap. I was just so hurt. Just call me." I deleted them all. The man she was begging for was gone. They had erased him. Then one evening, there was a knock on my new anonymous door. I looked through the peephole. It was Ella. She looked shattered. Her eyes were puffy and raw, Her hair was a mess, and she was clutching her coat around her as if she were freezing. The picture of desperation. A part of me, the part that had loved her for a decade, screamed to open the door, to pull her into my arms, to fix it. But that part had been beaten and left for dead on our front steps. I opened the door. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, letting her see the faint yellow remnants of the bruises her brothers had given me, letting her see the cold, impassive man I had become. Her face crumpled. "Alex," she sobbed, tears immediately streaming down her face. "Oh God, Alex, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I remained silent. "It's all falling apart," she wept, hugging herself. "The lawyers are so expensive. Mom and Dad are terrified. Chloe, she's standing by her story, but she's a mess. Please, can we just stop this? Can we just talk? We can fix this." Finally, I spoke. My voice was flat, devoid of the warmth she would have known. "There is nothing to fix, Ella. You broke it. You all did." "We were wrong!" she cried, reaching for me. I took a step back, avoiding her touch. The flinch was more painful to her than any words. She dropped her hand as if burned. "We were hurt and shocked, and we didn't think," she pleaded. "You didn't think?" I repeated, a sliver of ice in my tone. "You didn't think to ask for my side? You didn't think to question your sister's convenient, timeline-specific story? You didn't think before your brothers beat me on our living room floor? You didn't think before you all set out to destroy me? That wasn't a mistake, Ella. That was a choice. A violent, absolute choice. I know that now, but please, I love you. I miss you." The words landed like stones in a still pond, but they didn't ripple through me. They just sank, dead and cold. "The man you love doesn't exist anymore," I said calmly. "You killed him. This?" I gestured to myself. "This is what's left. And what's left is only interested in one thing, the truth." "The paternity test," she whispered, her eyes wide with dawning horror. "Alex, if you force that, if it proves I'm not the father," I finished for her, "then your sister is a liar, and you are a fool, and your family is guilty of slander, assault, and attempted ruin, and you will all be held accountable in a court of law. That's the only way this ends now." The reality of it, the cold, hard, legal reality, finally crashed down on her. This wasn't a marital spat. This was a war, and she was on the losing side. She had come looking for her husband, but she had found a plaintiff. Her tears stopped. The desperation faded, replaced by a bleak, empty realization. She had lost everything. She turned without another word and walked away, her footsteps echoing down the sterile hallway. I closed the door. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I felt a profound, echoing clarity. This was justice, not revenge. Revenge is emotional, messy, personal. This was procedural, factual, and cold. It was the only thing that could possibly scrub the stain of their lie from my name. The court-ordered paternity test was a clinical affair, a swab inside my cheek, a blood draw from Chloe. There was no drama, no last-minute confession. She avoided my eyes, her previously triumphant posture now slumped and defeated. The truth was a wave she could no longer outrun. The results came back 2 weeks later. I was in Miriam Goldstein's office when she opened the email from the lab. She scanned it, a slow smile spreading across her face. She turned her monitor around so I could see. Conclusion. Based on the genetic analysis, Alexander Croft is excluded as the biological father of the unborn child. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. I read the words, then I read them again. There was no surge of emotion, no cry of vindication, just a deep, settling calm. It was a fact, a scientific, immutable fact. It was the truth I had known in my soul, now quantified and printed on official letterhead. The bomb had detonated. Miriam went to work. The results were filed with the court. The lawsuits proceeded with irrefutable evidence. The defamation case was a slam dunk. The assault charges stuck. The divorce proceedings turned entirely in my favor. I learned the rest through the legal grapevine and a single final email from Ella. Chloe, under the weight of undeniable proof and the threat of financial annihilation, finally broke. She confessed everything to her family. It was all born from a jealous rage. Her life was a mess, a dead-end job, a deadbeat boyfriend, while mine and Ella's was a picture of success and love. We had what she wanted. The pregnancy was real. It was Jason's. She saw a way to destroy me, to punish Ella for her perfect life, and to force Jason to step up, all with one malicious story. She never dreamed her family wouldn't question it. She never dreamed they would rally so completely to her side without a single doubt. The fallout was absolute. The family was shattered. Ella's parents faced financial ruin from legal fees and our settlement. The brothers had assault convictions on their records. Chloe was a social pariah, her name synonymous with lies and manipulation. Ella's email was short. It was not an apology. It was an obituary for the life we had. Alex, I have no right to say anything to you. I just need you to know that I see it all now. The jealousy was always there. I just chose not to see it. I chose not to see a lot of things. I chose to believe a lie because the truth, that my own sister could be so venomous, was too terrible to face. My blindness cost me everything. It cost me you. It cost me the man I loved and the future we were supposed to have. I have to live with that now. I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed to say that I know what we took from you, and I am so very sorry for my part in it. I hope you can find peace. Ella. I deleted the email. Her remorse was her own burden to carry now. It had no place in my new life. The lawsuit settled. I took a significant financial sum, not because I needed it, but because it was the consequence they had to pay. I donated most of it to a charity for men who were victims of paternity fraud. The irony was not lost on me. I rebuilt my business under a new name. I moved to a new city. The scars were there, but they had healed strong, like knotted wood over a wound. One afternoon, a year later, I was having coffee at an outdoor cafe. A woman at a nearby table was crying softly into her phone. I just don't know how to come back from this, she whispered. Everyone believes his lies. I felt a familiar old ache, a ghost of a pain. I caught her eye and gave her a small, grim smile of solidarity. She looked surprised, then nodded in gratitude before turning away. I finished my coffee, the sun warm on my face. People never seem to believe how completely a single lie can obliterate another person's life. But they also never seem to consider the strength it takes to rebuild from the ashes. They had dragged me through hell, but I had refused to stay there. Because sometimes the only way to reclaim your name is to stop asking others to spell it right. You have to spell it out for them, in letters too bold to ignore. I had my name back. It was clean. It was mine. And to them, to Ella, to Chloe, to all of them. I only had this to say, a thought I finally truly understood. Hate takes energy, and I don't have anything left to give you. My clarity was my victory, and it was enough.